Today's session is about Master Program in International Relations and Ecumenism. And I'm happy to have with us Professor Cyril Hovorun and Dr. Sarah Gehlin. I will shortly present our speakers for today. So Professor Cyril Hovorun is Professor of Ecclesiology, International Relations and Ecumenism. He's also Archimandrite. He's originally from Ukraine, but he has taught theology in a number of institutions, educational institutions and universities, such as theological academies in Kiev, Moscow, Minsk, National University of Kiev, Mohyla Academy in Kiev, Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles, and I'm afraid that I will forget about some others, but this is a kind of short selection of them. So welcome, Professor Hovorun. And we have today with us Sarah Gehlin, who is a senior lecturer at Department of Eastern Christian Studies at Stockholm School of Theology, but she's also a senior lecturer at two other departments, Religious Studies and Theology and Human Rights and Democracy, all at University College Stockholm. So Sarah defended her doctoral dissertation on the role of theology in peace building in 2016 at Lund Universities, and is a consultant of the World Council of Churches Commission. So welcome, Sarah, as well. And I will give first floor to Sarah, and then later Professor Cyril Hovorun will take this virtual floor.
Thank you so much, Bojana, and welcome everyone who listened to this session on the Master Program on International Relations and Ecumenism. And Professor Hovorun and myself, we are very glad to see you here today, and we welcome your questions and look forward to the conversation here in the meeting. Yes, and as you can hear from the name of this master program, it is about ecumenism and international relations. And the program does not only deal with international issues, but when you study the program, you will also study in an international environment. Just as the students, we who are teachers in the program, we come from different countries. In the teacher teams, we have a gathered experience which we believe enriches the program. We have researched the topic of ecumenism from different starting points, and we bring different kinds of experience of ecumenism and international relations with us into our teaching. And we share a great engagement in these topics, and we wish to inspire you all in your studies. About the title of the program, International Relations and Ecumenism, we can see that relations is central to the program. Relations between churches, interreligious relations, relations between religious groups and other groups in the society, and of course, international relations. But then, why the combination of international relations and ecumenism? Well, we can begin with the ecumenical movement, which already 100 years ago made itself known as a peace movement and an international bridge builder in the endeavors of religious groups who work today for counteracting violence and building peace. The ecumenical movement is among the religious movements which have the longest experience of active peace building, a whole century. So in other words, in the study of international relations, the ecumenical movement is a highly interesting agent. The peace work of the ecumenical movement has connected people from different Christian traditions across national borders for long times. And this is one of the processes that we study in the master program. And moreover, we look closer to different models and structures and methods for dialogue and cooperation in ecumenical contexts, in interreligious context, and in civil society. And not least, we discuss the theological reasoning and reasons behind this work. So which role can ecumenical and interreligious dialogue play in processes of conflict resolution and peace building? Here we are dealing with issues that concern diplomacy, decision-making, and mediation. So, well, this gives you a little taste of what we are doing in this master program. So what can you do after you have completed a master program in international relations and ecumenism? the program is designed, is both oriented towards research and towards working in different sectors of society. And it's designed in a way that you will be able to use your knowledge from the program, both as a researcher and as a professional in, for example, organizations or institutions that develop international relations and structures of ecumenical cooperation. And Cyril, you have worked with setting up this master program. Would you like to tell a little bit more about it?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Sarah, for these words of introduction to the master's program. And I probably have to underline before I continue that you bring to the school a very valuable experience of Finland, where you spent quite a few years, as far as I know. And Finland is famous for its ecumenical engagement, particularly between two churches, Lutheran and Orthodox. And well, to some extent, our school, St. Ignatios School, which hosts this program, this master's program in ecumenism, together with the rest of the Stockholm School of Theology, somehow amalgamates this Finnish experience where East and West meet together. And indeed, I believe in Finland, the relations between the Finnish Orthodox Church and Lutheran Church is exemplary for the global ecumenical engagement, particularly between the Eastern and Western churches. So it's really a valuable experience. I should say that in designing this program and in running this program, we try to address three issues, I would say. Two issues are global and one issue is more local. The global issue is first general ignorance about ecumenism. Even in the highly ecumenically engaged countries like Sweden, and the Church of Sweden, Lutheran Church of Sweden, is very much devoted to the ecumenical movement. It's one of the largest sponsors and promoters of ecumenism in the world. Still, in different pockets of the Swedish society, as it were, and in different churches in Sweden, the awareness about ecumenism is not as high as it is, would be expected to be. That's why I think we try to tackle primarily this issue of ignorance, of general ignorance about ecumenism, and to enlighten people about what it is. The second issue is addressing those people in the church which have been affected by another general phenomenon or general disease, which is called ecumenical fatigue. They increasingly speak about ecumenical fatigue in different countries nowadays. People and churches are sometimes tired of being involved in the ecumenical movement. They are aware about the ecumenical movement. They know what ecumenism is, but they are tired to commit themselves to the ecumenical cause. And I think what we try to do in our school is we try to kind of invigorate, to encourage people to be more kind of devoted to the ecumenical cause, both locally in the Swedish context and globally, given especially the global engagement of Sweden, of the Swedish churches to the global ecumenical movement. And the third issue is more local. It has to do with very traditional, I would say, skepticism of the Orthodox regarding ecumenism. It's not a secret that Eastern churches, whether they are Byzantine or Oriental churches, they are sometimes quite skeptical about the ecumenical engagement, and they say, well, it's a Protestant thing, we don't care very much. And I think it is an issue, and we try to demonstrate through this program that ecumenism is not just a Western or Protestant or Catholic thing. It's also very much an Eastern thing, and Eastern Christianity has been engaged in various ecumenical activities since its beginning. I would personally argue that ecumenism was born in the Christian East, because ecumenism emerged as a reaction to the church divisions, and the first church divisions happened exactly in the Christian East with the first schisms that occurred in the early Christian centuries. And essentially, the Christian churches, especially in the East, elaborated on the first kind of methods of ecumenical approach, ecumenical bridge building with the groups that had been separated from other churches. That's why I think it is important to rediscover our own traditions, our own legacy of contributing to ecumenism in the Christian East. And I think it's kind of a unique contribution of this particular school to the global ecumenical movement, because to my knowledge, no other programs or schools offer this kind of insights to the traditional pre-modern patterns of ecumenism. And ecumenism is mostly studied, in its modern forms, in the forms as it emerged in the beginning of the 20th century with the Edinburgh Conference and other ecumenical initiatives that Sarah mentioned in her presentation. So those are three kind of issues that we want really to tackle in this program. I would also like to emphasize another aspect of our ecumenical program, which makes it kind of different and unique vis-a-vis other programs. It says that this is a program in ecumenism and international relations, which gives the ecumenical studies a proper context, I believe. It makes our ecumenical program contextual. Contextual in the sense of not just the local culture, enculturation, but also in the sense of regarding the phenomenon of the church and the church divisions in a wider context of wider society and political circumstances that certainly affect, the life of the church. It reflects a special approach that our school has adopted regarding the phenomenon of the church. And in our school, we develop what we call critical ecclesiology, meaning it's a perception of the church which takes into consideration various socio-political circumstances that surround the church and that sometimes dictate in either positive or negative ways how the church behaves in the public square, in the wider society. So we place the ecumenical studies in the same context. We study them in a wider socio-political context or contexts. So that's how we connect essentially the ecumenical studies with ecclesiology, with the church. And if you want, it's a kind of know-how of our school that we try to promote through this master's program. So it's on the one hand we offer a field of studies which is explored by other schools, but we also offer some special outlooks at this field of studies, which are contextual, which are socio-political, and which also include not just the Western approach to ecumenical studies, but also the Eastern approaches to the ecumenical studies. So we really follow this beautiful metaphor, which was articulated by John Paul II, that Christianity should breathe with two lungs, Eastern and Western lungs. And we try to breathe with two lungs, and those are the lungs that I hope will oxygenate, increase the level of oxygen in the veins of the global ecumenical movements. So that's sort of some additional points to what Sarah has indicated in her presentation, and those are the kind of the that is the perimeter, as it were, or the framework, or the particular features of this ecumenical studies program. So I think we could now maybe discuss some maybe questions that may be raised. It's a very important question indeed, and well, that is the reason why people apply. Most people apply for this field. Maybe, I don't know, Sarah, you already mentioned some of possibilities. Maybe you want to explore it more.
Well, in the organizational world, I think that there are many opportunities for having jobs where such an education like the master program in international relations and ecumenism can be a very good background. Like, for example, it might both be ecumenical organizations and such NGOs that work more towards the international arena, but where the knowledge about religious factors are valuable. And my experience is also that today many students who are working with international questions and diplomacy, for example, in the field of mediation, big organizations that work with those questions, the knowledge about religious issues and religious factors in both peace and war are invaluable and are requested. So I think here, if you come with a master program in international relations and ecumenism, this can be a very good background for such a job. Apart from, of course, working in Christian councils and in interreligious councils. Yes, so, and then of course we have the path of research that opens up after a program like this.
Thank you. Yes, I think I have to add to this that well, virtually every church nowadays has ecumenical officers, people who serve the external relations of those churches with other churches or religious groups, and certainly, well, those officers are supposed to have a special education, and we offer this kind of education to the potential of ecumenical officers of any church, of any tradition. Also, I should mention that it has been in the Eastern Christian churches, at least in the Orthodox churches, a tradition that prominent hierarchs have been promoted to the prominent positions after they studied in ecumenism. Like, for instance, the Patriarch of the Romanian Church, Daniel, he studied in Bosei, in the Ecumenical Institute in Bosei. Well, the Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew, he studied in a Catholic institution, which also has an ecumenical kind of aura, the Pontifical Oriental Institute, Pure. So it's a sort of good practice nowadays that people with ecumenical education get promoted, to the prominent church positions, and they don't need to work specifically in the ecumenical field, but they can work in their churches with the view of ecumenism, with ecumenism in their minds, and this is a very important, I think, aspect of the church service. Also, indeed, yes, the ecumenical programs, I would say, they flourish nowadays. They are not in decline, and they need, new faculty, new people to teach in those programs, and they develop globally in different countries, in different institutions, universities. Well, our school is an example because we just recently started this ecumenical program, and we are not unique in this sense that there are other programs that start, and they certainly need people who are prolific in ecumenical studies. And in connection with this, I should mention that we also offer doctoral degrees following the master's program in ecumenical studies. So people who really want to to continue their engagement in the ecumenical studies can do this at our school in the doctoral program and can, pick up a dissertation on ecumenical studies, and will afterwards they could join the faculty, any faculty in ecumenical studies in any institution in the world as well. Our diplomas are recognized everywhere, and it's really good. It's a good diploma. It's a good document to to continue with in any institution globally.
I can hang on here a little bit to what Cyril says also about ecumenism as a developing subject, and that it's a flourishing subject in the academy around the world, and that here in Sweden we are in our college developing ecumenism now in different ways, and that we have these two different departments where students from different traditions and different directions and different backgrounds are given the opportunity to follow an international ecumenical track in their education, and that this takes place both in the Department of Eastern Christian Studies and is also on its way to develop in the other department, which is also a theological department, which is on religious studies and theology. So this background, which can be different, but that we are here having an education that gathers students from different backgrounds, and that is also something which really strengthens the environment of studies.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah, for bringing this up, which exactly emphasizes another important aspect of our school is interdisciplinarity. We really try to bridge different fields, and the ecumenical studies, our program in ecumenical studies at least, it's really crossing different fields. I mentioned already that it's not just about ecumenical studies, it's also about international relations, which is a connection which is connected to political science, sociology of religion, conflict resolution studies. And I know, Sarah, you're also a specialist in the peace building studies and conflict resolution studies, which is a valuable experience indeed. So we try really to explore adjacent fields, not just the ecumenical studies, and it is encoded somehow in our program.
It can also here be mentioned that we have a third department in the College on Human Rights and Democracy. So the interests in both ecumenical studies, like bridging the departments of Eastern Christian Studies and the other department of Religious Studies and Theology, but also the bridge to human rights and democracy, which falls very naturally into the themes of this program. So here we have an environment of exchange.
Yes, exactly. I should say probably that our program has been tailored, crafted around learning outcomes, which are very important for in the modern education, and we've developed the learning outcomes that would allow our students to contribute constructively and effectively to the field of ecumenical studies, to the field of interchurch relations, conflict resolution programs, and those are skills that we try to develop for our students. It's not, well, as such, certainly it's not just about knowledge. It's not about consuming information and reproducing information. It's about really an ability of applying what they've learned in the process of the master's program to their respective fields or situations. That's why we really emphasize and focus on teaching students and developing skills that would allow them to bring this knowledge, this experience from the school to their own contexts, and to be able to apply it widely to different contexts. So I hope after students go to other places where they will work. They will not need to learn from scratch. They will not need to forget everything that they have studied, in our school in order to study again. No, because the purpose of the school is exactly to teach students to apply their knowledge, their understanding, their skills to any context, any situation they can find themselves in.
I also think that to think interdisciplinary is a skill that you will take with you as a student from this program. With this combination of ecumenical studies and international relations studies, we have this natural bridge in between subjects within the program, and here we can see the need for in both of these fields, the need for the other field in a situation that we have today, where religions and religious agents are involved in different ways in different kinds of conflicts around the world. And it's a big issue, it's a big question that many are worrying about and thinking about, and there is an interdisciplinary discussion going on, but where theology has not been involved so much before, but is coming into the scene now. And peace theology has been a field that has been growing for centuries, but it has not been so much directly involved into the interdisciplinary discussions on how we actually solve these issues which concern religious legitimizations of violence, for example, but where theology and theologians have an important role to play today, because when you are schooled and in theology, you can also understand dynamics behind how people are reasoning, how they are feeling and thinking, and what are the worldviews looking like. And only when you have these deep insights and knowledge, you can also try to solve the problems that might lie behind why such legitimizations of violence take place, and how to turn these spirals into peaceful spirals. So I think here we have an interdisciplinary question which is important to bring to the fore, and I believe this program does this in a way that students get trained in thinking in between subjects.
Yeah, and just to corroborate your point, Sarah, I want to mention just it happens, it's a coincidence, that in a couple of hours tonight I'll have a presentation for Lund University on the wars in Europe that have happened since the beginning of the 21st century. So it's a kind of conversation that we have in the frame of our program, which is we discuss real world problems, and we try to figure out how to solve some of them. We cannot solve all problems, but we really are focused not on just theories, but on the real world issues.
Thank you, Sarah and Cyril, for this detailed presentation. And I think that we opened many questions. So we're looking forward to continuing this discussion. Thank you once again.